Mikiel Anton Vassalli was a Maltese writer, a philosopher, and a linguist who published important Maltese language books, including a Maltese-Italian dictionary, a Maltese grammar book, the first Protestant Gospels in Maltese, and towards the end of his life, a book on Maltese proverbs. Mikiel Anton Vassalli was born in a right double angle bracket tbbua umlaut inverted exclamation point in 1764 to a peasant family, and lost his father at the age of 2. In 1785, at the age of 21, he started studies of oriental languages in the Sapienza University of Rome. During his second exile in France he married Catherine Formosa de Freamaux in 1813. He died in 1829, and, having been refused burial by the Catholic Church, Vassalli was buried in the Msida Bastions Garden of Rest, a Protestant cemetery mainly used by the British. Maltese grammars and dictionaries had already been written before the century, but all of them have long since been lost. It is for this reason that the honor of being the author of the first grammar goes to Canon Giovanni Pietro Francesco Agius de Soldanis for his Della lingua Pietro degrees Nica presentemente usata da Maltesi in Roma. It was only in the 1790s that Vassalli, alone among Maltese nationalists, took an interest in purifying the language of Italianisms and reviving it as a national language. The introduction to the dictionary has a strong social and political flavour which makes it very clear that Vassalli's primary aim was not the Maltese language in itself, but the civil and moral education of the Maltese people, which he believed could only be attained through their native language. One can easily point out Vassalli's discorso preliminare second only to the Constitution of the Republic, in that it is a beautiful and precious document for the Maltese nation, to whom it was dedicated with the words Alanasium Maltese, a phrase which in those days could only be the fruits of a very fertile imagination. Vassalli's call was above everything else a political one, favouring the education of the Maltese masses, and the development of Maltese potential in all possible areas, and the accessibility to the realms of wisdom and law, so that the Maltese nation could arrive at a full consciousness of itself, its duties, and identify itself as a nation in its own right. This is therefore a movement in favour of democratic power. The Maltese language was to be the primary instrument for this process. Vassalli was the first to study Maltese scientifically, and according to its Semitic roots. He proposed it as an alternative to foreign languages which up to that time had always been employed in all areas involving intellect and culture. Thus for the first time the Maltese language appeared as an instrument for popular education, and made a claim for power. It was inevitable that Vassalli's revolutionary call would have many obstacles to overcome in the process of its realization. Mikiel Anton Vassalli was expelled from Malta a number of times during his life due to his political beliefs. He lived during one of the most turbulent periods of Maltese history. The final years of the Knights of St. John, the 2 years of Napoleonic government, and the first years of British rule from 1800. For a time he was suspected to have been the author of the Francophile publication, Recherches historiques et politiques sur Malte. However, this was later attributed to the Maltese lawyer, Onorato Bres. Besides the social disorder that was an outcome of political upheaval, there was also a deeply felt division between the social classes. The privileged class on one hand, and on the other the vast majority. It was a time of great turmoil, when Europe was beset with revolutionary ideas which would come to a head with the French Revolution having as its ideals liberty and power to the people. As any other active and intelligent youth would, Vassalli closely followed all the developments that were taking place, and absorbed the social ideas, besides doing very well in his academic studies.